Hello everybody, welcome to this edition of the Coaching Conversation. In this series, we're looking to help business owners, business leaders see how coaching can help them and their teams be the people they want to be, achieve the things they really want to achieve in their life. We also aim it at fellow coaches. What we're really looking to do is to show them our experiences and hope that inspires them and helps them develop their own skills and practices. I'm Graham Wiley. I've been coaching business leaders and business owners around the world for the last 2 decades. Nothing more to say now other than get ready, get comfortable. Here comes this edition of the Coaching Conversation. I thought this week I'd try and be a little topical. I'd take something out of today's news and show how, as an executive coach, that might be relevant to the kind of work I could do to help a leader who perhaps needed some help. So, if I was an executive coach for Liz Truss, the current, soon-to-be former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, what would be the things that would be going through my mind to help her at what is now clearly a very difficult time? Well, the first thing that would become apparent to me was whether or not she was going to be receptive to any kind of help. At this point, she's probably suffering from an extreme level of emotions, whether it's fear, embarrassment, shame, disappointment. We could list them almost in alphabetical order, I guess. And she's worried about the future and exactly what's going to happen next, whilst at the same time trying to stay in control of a very important job of keeping the country safe, secure, and being led. So determining whether or not she's really receptive to help would be my start point. And I'd be asking her a number of open questions around how are you feeling, what's important to you, what were you focusing on, and so on, to see how receptive and open-minded she was. On the assumption that that was going well, the real point of help now is to focus her mind away from the present. Start to think about the future. What's happened now and what's happened in the immediate past is exactly that, past. And she needs to be thinking about what her future is going to be. And the person that's going to create that future is fundamentally her. And so, whilst this is not going to be something that's going to get done in one single conversation, it's not a therapy session and it's not going to happen overnight, starting to move her focus away from the disappointment, the awkwardness of the current moment, and to think about perhaps the things that really matter to her long term, the things that really matter to her career for the future, is where happiness, prosperity, success really lies. And so as a coach, the first challenge is to begin to ask the kind of questions that are going to provoke that kind of thought process. So questions such as, what are the things you really enjoy doing in your career, in your profession? What are the things that energize you? What are the sorts of things you take great pride in? What are the sorts of things that you believe you are really talented and skillful at? And ultimately, they'll lead to, and are they the sorts of things that you believe add value and create satisfaction and enjoyment for yourself? Once you begin to collate that sort of list of issues and opportunities, you can begin to focus her mind around what's going to happen to help you bring those things more into your life going forward. Yeah, there's a moment now, you've got to get through this transition, you've got to get through this difficult period of the party finding a new leader, the country finding a new leader, and then you passing over and then moving off into whatever situation is going to be left for you. But once that's through, and that'll be through more quickly than most people would appreciate, what are you going to focus on? Now, it's not necessarily important to be making these decisions really quickly, jumping to I'll resign as an MP, jumping to I'll leave the Conservative Party. All of that's totally unnecessary. What is important is that time is being given to, focus is being given to the areas that she really does want to work in the longer term. Some of the questions that you might be asking her as a coach are, what are the things that really matter to you? At the end of your career, looking back, and you were saying, I'm really proud of this, or these things really mattered to me, to the world, whatever, what would they be? And as you start to shape them up with your coachee, you can start to talk about, so how do you make that happen then? What's the route to there from here? Is it continuing in the same profession? Is it retraining? Is it completely removing yourself from the current situation, reinventing yourself? What is the route that you want to take to get to where you want to be? And then as that unfolds, you can talk about perhaps some of the smaller steps. What are you going to do next month? What are you going to do between now and Christmas? What happens in 2023? And you can start to help Liz Truss find her path forward and set herself attainable, achievable, realistic goals of things that can be done to move her forward. Things that can be achieved and notched up as progress, as success. And what this ultimately boils down to is the coach helping your coachee regain their own personal self-confidence, to regain their own self-worth and sense of value. Because ultimately, as a coach, you don't have any of the answers, you only have the questions. And ultimately, your role is to support the person you're working with, not to lead them. And therefore, they can only really achieve these things when they feel comfortable and confident to do so. And by rebuilding their focus, by getting them to think forward, not back, beginning to get them to get a real sense of priority, what is important, what do you enjoy, where can you add value, begins to give a whole new perspective on their circumstances and on their situation. Now, this has got nothing whatsoever to do with any form of judgment I may have on that person's ability, that person's integrity, their politics. That's irrelevant. And actually is a distraction from the job as an executive coach that you're being paid to do. You're not there as any form of scorekeeper, any form of tutor that's teaching them in any way to be better than they already are. What you're doing is helping them to work that out entirely for themselves. By doing that, it will self-propel by giving them the ownership of what they're going to do, means it'll get done. And it's not reliant on you, it becomes entirely self-determined. And so, coming back to this example, I'm going to, of Liz Truss and the way her world in terms of a premiership has collapsed almost in a blinding light. There are parallels here to senior executives and businesses and business owners when the job that they've always wanted has suddenly been taken away. They've been made redundant. It's been taken away. Their business has failed. It's gone into administration or it's been bought. And suddenly everything that they valued, all of their touchstones, all of the things that they thought were solid are not there. And so as an executive coach, you can help them come to terms with this change of circumstance and see it for what it is. a moment in time. And there are many more moments to come, and the shape of those moments, the shape of their future, are entirely in their hands, provided they embrace it with that kind of thought process. Now again, as I say, it's not a matter of rushing through this process to get to any kind of conclusion and just action is more important than anything else. Whilst that has some merit, the reality is the next steps are important. Getting the next steps, the confidence and building on that and returning to being a success in your own mind takes the time that it takes. Because there is a solid foundation. There is a solid future. There is the ability to look the world right in the eye. So if I were coaching Liz Truss at this moment in time, I wouldn't be looking backwards with her. I'd be helping her think about the future. And I wouldn't be reflecting on what went wrong. I wouldn't be trying to learn the lessons of the past. I'd be saying, what really matters to you? Where do you want to be in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now? And this isn't about revenge. This isn't about settling scores. This isn't about proving everybody wrong. This is about what matters to you. What are you going to value when you look back and say, I learned from that and look what I achieved? What would that be? What sorts of things? And just simply spending a couple of hours in your company on that kind of conversation is an incredibly positive experience. It's an incredibly valuable, uplifting development for that person. And as an executive coach, you've done an enormous service for them in what is a relatively serious moment in their life. So there we have it. If I was, and I'm not, and I never will be, coaching an ex-Prime Minister, these are the sorts of things, these are the sorts of ways I'd be going about that. So there you have it. That's the end of this edition of the Coaching Conversation. I hope you thought it was interesting. I hope you thought it was topical. And I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. So there you have it. That was the latest edition of the Coaching Conversation. Hope it was useful. Hope it did what it was meant to do for you. If you want any more information about our coaching practice, it's at the executivemindset.co.uk. While you're there, you can book your own free session, which will give you a much deeper insight to what coaching can really do for you. If you enjoyed the session, please give us a good rating. And if you want to reach out for further information, do email me at theexecutivemindset@sagegreen.com. That's about it for this time, and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.